Hey, Nathan Clark here. Just getting you a quick Facebook live here. Want to go over today home inspections. So one of the most common questions that I get from home buyers, home sellers is, what the heck is a home inspection? I figured I'd touch base on that. While people are kind of getting tuned in here, we'll wait for that to happen. I got a couple questions that I get a lot of times to kind of walk people through that. If you're a home buyer looking to purchase a property, now's the time to learn about home inspections. If you're a home seller and you're thinking about selling your property, now's the time to learn about home inspections because they are going to happen. And there's nothing really to worry about if everything's handled the right way. So if you like this video, please share it. Hopefully it's some useful information for it. All the stuff that I'm going to discuss with you today, you can go to my website, nathanclarkteam.com, and that'll come up there. As I said, my name is Nathan Clark, and I run the Nathan Clark team here in Rhode Island, a real estate company. We've been doing business now for over 16 years, and we handle Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. And one of the most common questions we get about home inspections is really, as I said before, believe it or not, is what are they? So when you put a house on the market, you obviously, as a seller, get a buyer, or hopefully get a buyer for the property, and the buyer makes their offer usually contingent on doing home inspections, unless it's going to be some kind of new construction maybe, but even new construction, we see home inspections being done. So from the buyer standpoint, the buyer does a home inspection, and they're going to do it on a number of things. You know, there's physical, mechanical, there's the pool, there's termites, well, any kind of bugs inspection. Wood destroying insects. There is radon, lead, and many other things that the home inspection can be done on your property. It's not a pass or fail issue, so it's not like grade school where you go through and you either pass or fail. It's every one of those aspects. So physical, mechanical, that would be, let's say, physical, the roof. Mechanical would be your boiler, your heating system, or for the HVAC guys here, I guess we wouldn't say boiler for everything, but your mechanical heating system, okay, how you're getting that. So does it work? That's really what the home inspector is looking for. So how does the system work there? As I said before, they'll be checking the roof, the exterior of the home, the attic, balconies, fences, electrical, the faucets, the plumbing fixtures, checking the home ventilation. As I said, that includes AC, the water heater, fireplaces, appliances, basements, crawl spaces, radon. Very common question we get there. I'm going to be talking about Rhode Island, because that's a majority of our business in Rhode Island here. So in Rhode Island, they say 4.0 or higher, and radon being measured needs to be replaced, okay? So they'll put a machine in your home, and they'll test the air quality to see if it's 4.0 or higher. Radon can be important because tests have shown homes with higher levels of radon create higher risks of cancer, so a lot of people like to test for that. Lead paint, that's another test that they do. They'll test for lead paint in the property. So those are certain tests that people, the buyer at the buyer expense, can do. And so they'll do those tests. In Rhode Island, you have 10 days from the purchase of the property. Purchase the property, we consider when you go under agreement to purchase the property. They have 10 days to do a home inspection on the home. So they do the home inspection within 10 days at their expense. They would ask to have access to the property. They could do the access. Most of the times we like to try to do those home inspections all at once. The time that we see that's difficult is if they're doing a separate septic inspection where they have to do a flow test or a well test. They might do those in separate days, but 90% of the time the inspections are done all in the same day, unless they're going to be doing something that's going to affect like a well test and a septic test at the same time. It's tough. That's a lot of strain on a well. So they do their home inspection, okay, and the buyers elect to hire their home inspector. They come through, and what they'll look for is things that weren't well maintained. Usually that's the number one reasons why things come back from a seller. So sellers, if you're listening, look for maintenance issues. Things that were not maintained and caused the problem. For example, if you didn't have gutters on the property and now you're having rotting wood where the gutters were supposed to be, you might have gutters on there in the property and they were not cleaned and they were backing into the soffits there or onto the faceplates there, and rotting wood's coming from that. So that's one of the things that they'll come up with the home inspection. And what they would say is to look at it further, investigate it further to the buyer. They'd give the buyer a report. Now, that buyer, really, we need to understand the difference between major and minor problems. And this is probably one of the most frustrating things, especially when we're representing a seller, is when the buyer does a home inspection, everything comes back that the home inspector can find. No house out there, even new construction, is perfect. Just because a home inspector found things wrong with the property doesn't mean that it needs to be replaced. If I could get a nickel for every time the putty, it's a little putty that you put on the outside of an electrical meter, is cracked because it sits out in the sun all day, and somebody asked that to be replaced. Not saying they're wrong for being asked to replace, but it's really about $5 to replace. So, I kind of, when we're working with buyers, is explain to them, to pick the battles that you want to win, to be able to get the house. If we just throw a laundry list to the seller of every little crack in the paint and putty that's cracking, and I expect them to fix all the things, what usually happens is the seller says, the buyer's unrealistic, let's just find a different buyer. Or it becomes a tit for tat negotiation back and forth, which gets very draining on the whole process. Really is looking at the big items that come back, the big ticket items. So that's the difference really between major and minor problems out there. A major problem, a roof leaking, a bad septic, bad well, electrical panel has water inside it, and many other things. And kind of picking the battle of what you want to win really has to be replaced. I find a bad negotiating tactic is let's throw everything at them and see what they say. That's like starting really low on an offer price and expecting the seller to counter back. Actually, you'll find 100% of the times where most of the seller just doesn't counter back and says the buyer's unrealistic. If I would sell for that price, I put it on the market somewhere near that. So it's kind of looking at every situation is different, but differentiate the major problems from the minor problems, probably do a lot better in the process. Home inspections vary. That's a very common question we get too, is like, how long does the average home inspection last? So it's a good question. It really depends on the size of the house. Same thing with what you're going to let to have done. If there's a pool, it's going to take longer. But the average size house, let's say 2,000 square foot home, probably going to take 2 or 3 hours for most companies. There are those companies out there that take 6 hours to do a home inspection. And pretty much no one loves those guys. The home seller, the home buyer, and everybody else is sitting there. Why is this taking 6 hours? Depending on what they're doing, it should take about 2 hours to do a typical house for a home inspection. Maybe the home inspector didn't have any other business and want to take the whole day to do one. But usually they write things up as they go along and then give the buyer a copy of the home inspection response to the buyer. The seller does not get a copy of it most times unless the buyer leaves it for him. The reason being is the buyer did pay for it, so it's the buyer's decision if they want to hand it over to the seller. The other kind of question we get, feel free to add a question here. I'll keep an eye on it. If you have any home inspection questions, is how much will it cost to fix the problems? $1 million question, right? We don't know. And neither does a home inspector. For the most part, where we don't like to get caught into on the real estate end of it is quoting something and then somebody runs with that quote. The best thing to do is to get a licensed insured contractor out there to give us a reasonable quote on what this would cost. I mean, certainly you can look at things like I said before, the electrical putty on the meter. That doesn't cost much to fix there. But when you talk about a boiler, I mean, you can range it from an average boiler 4 to 8, 6, 7,000 to do a boiler, a roof 5, 10,000. I mean, so there's such a range. It's really hard to make educated decisions by just pulling it out of thin air of what the home would cost. Call a contractor. Your realtor should have some contractors that they work with. On the team, we have several contractors that we recommend that we can send out there, give you a quote very quickly so we can keep things moving. Septics sometimes take a little longer. If the septic fails, God forbid that happens, it does take more involvement with the government to get DEM approving what the septic design would be. But once again, a good realtor will have people in touch with that. They can get quotes pretty quick, move things along with that. So how much it costs to fix really depends on that. Best thing to do is have a licensed insured contractor give us quotes on what they specialize in. Typical cost, that's another question that I got talking to some buyers out there. How much does a home inspection cost? Once again, it depends on what you're doing. A condo is going to cost less than a single family home. A 2,000 square foot house is going to cost less than a 10,000 square foot house. Doing the whole gamut of inspections, will also cost more. If you're going to do radon, usually those are add-on things. I see the average price for home inspections somewhere between people spending somewhere between closer to $500 to $800 after it's said and done. So $500 to $1,000 should be plenty for most home inspection companies. The cheapest company does not mean they're always the best. You can find really cut rate everything in the world. I've learned in my life is that the best thing's not the cheapest. The best price things are usually the best price for a reason. They're trying to get rid of them. Why they're trying to get rid of them, or why does nobody want to buy them, or why does this person have so much free time, might tell you why they're cheap. When it comes to home inspection, I would spend the money. That's not somewhere you want to cheap out. This is something you're going to be buying, spending lots and lots of money on. Do a good home inspection. They'll give you a good report. They'll take photos. Our home inspectors all give photos to the buyer so they can see that. And that also helps, realize when we're working with you as a buyer and we're shooting this over to the seller and we're like, yeah, you got mold up in the attic and there's no photo. It's very tough for them to know where's this mold supposedly, or mold-like substances up in the attic. So a photo really helps with that. Okay. Just as all real estate agents are the same, I said before, not all home inspectors are the same. So really take your time to find the best home inspection. I can tell you many of home inspection stories that didn't go well. But if you're a home inspector watching this and you'd like to be on my video, I'd love to do an interview with you. We can do a Facebook Live with you. People seem to love these out here. If you're someone that has some home inspection questions, feel free to comment below. If you're a seller looking to sell your property or a buyer, we can help you out. You can go to my website, nathanclarkteam.com. Let's see how handy I am with the web here. I'm on the phone. I'm trying to pull up the report. We got free reports for you where you can find all about home inspections. Ready? Oh, I'm going to share my screen. There we go. You guys should be able to see this in 1 second. Here we go. So yeah, if you go to nathanclarkteam.com and you're looking to sell your property, everything I just went over with you in even more detail right here in reports. I will make the screen a little bigger so you can see it. Home inspections. Where are we here? Pass your inspection. Boom. Go here. You get all the information, 11 things you need to know to pass your inspection. Actually, it's good for buyers too, but you're able to see things that the buyer's going to go into when they do their home inspection: defective plumbing, basements, wiring, cooling, things to check yourself. Some sellers actually do a pre-home inspection before they put the property on the market, and that's a great idea. So things come up. Everybody has their opinion about it. I get it, but this is Facebook Live, so I get to have my opinion. I like pre-home inspections for the seller. In case things come up, I like to do a title search on the property before we put it out there to find if things come up and save everybody a heartbreak. But teach their own. But if you're a seller, you want more information on that, you can go to nathanclarkteam.com. Sellers, right down there. Any report you want to take a look at, feel free. They are free. But how do you pass your inspection? Buyers, that's pretty good to look at. If you have any questions regarding that, feel free to check the buyer stuff out there. Pass your home inspection. Good stuff on best financing rates. A lot of cool stuff, free reports. I find people find it's free. They find it helpful out there. In other news, I've talked about this before, our golf tournament. If you guys are interested in our golf tournament that's coming up August 17th, don't quote me on it, but you can go to my website, go to my Facebook page, Nathan Clark Team. Please give us a like on there. To benefit Hasbro Children's Hospital, it's coming up. I need as many players and sponsors as we get, because it's a great cause to help really sick kids in need, and we'll be able to do that through our Hasbro Children's Hospital. Thank you very much for all the sponsors that we've had for several years now and running doing this. We appreciate you guys sponsoring us for that. And I think I pretty much hit everything I wanted to hit with you guys today. Oh, what you could really help me with, if you'd like this video, give me one of those thumbs up. You can even give me the heart or the sad face if you really didn't like it. It'd make me sad if you did that. Comment below and like my page. Share this video, and that's pretty much what I'd ask of you today. I hope you're having a great day. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.